Today I am putting an end to all live edge once and for all with my live edge decimator, also known as a, jointing jig. Hey guys, how's it going? So my in-laws are looking for a dining room table, and they are wanting to use some reclaimed barnwood. This will be a future video on the channel, so if you are watching this in the future, you will be able to check that out up here. I'll go more into the history of the wood in that video, but long story short, I have several logs worth of century-old tamarack boards that I need to square up, and I don't have a jointer. To start this project off, I grab a scrap sheet of plywood out of the bin that's roughly the right length, check the length I'll need based off the barnwood, and cut the scrap to length at the miter saw. I'm basically just taking off the rough edges here. And since this is reused material itself as well, it was my in-laws' old entertainment stand, I went along the edge and knocked the finish nails that were still sticking out back under the surface of the wood. Moving over to my workbench, I throw a 3/4 inch straight bit in my router and route out 2 channels across the width of the panel. I did do these in a single pass. I probably should have done multiple passes to keep the router from jumping out at me. Like so. Probably would have stung a little bit if it, got my finger. As is, it only took a bite out of the top surface of my square. With the channels cut and some T-track cut to length, I glued them into place with some CA glue and activator. The CA glue won't hold long term, but should hold long enough until I get some screws in there to bolt the T-track down permanently. With the T-track in, I can tighten down the hold downs. These will hold down the boards, hence the name. Now at this point I could call the project done and use the straight edge of the fence as the reference point to run the straight edge of the plywood. I figured I would take it a step further to try and give the jig a little bit more of a consistent zero clearance using the table saw track. Using another scrap piece of plywood, I rip a piece off the same width of the track and then rip it down to the height or depth of the track. Whatever you want to call it, it's that one. An issue I then discovered going with this method is that my workbench / outfeed table doesn't have those same tracks. So I break out the trim router again, clamp a 6-foot level to my workbench to act as a straight edge, and route a slightly wider track in the bench than the table saw, just to account for any misalignment that I might have bumped in. This was simple enough to do just by bumping the level over 1/4 inch for the second pass. Then just a quick chamfer of the edges with the mini block plane just to soften up the edges. With the runner in the table saw, the fence bumped over to push the jig just over the top of the saw blade, and the jig sitting on the top. I screw in the front of the jig and slide the whole jig over, making sure to keep everything back up against the fence and screw in the back. Then it was simple enough to screw in between those 2 screws to keep the rest of the runner in place. Then at that point it's pretty much just raise the table saw blade and run the jig through for an easy zero clearance fit. And since aluminum can be cut with woodworking tools, you don't have to worry about wrecking anything when you hit the T-track, unless you have a saw stop. That might cause some problems if it's not in bypass mode or whatever it's called. I don't have a saw stop, so I couldn't tell you for sure. Last step to make this properly usable is bolt on a handle. And with that, let's see how this works. Pretty good if I say so myself. Now that I have a straight edge to reference on the fence, the opposite side is now pretty easily lined up and cut off as well. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this. I think a couple things I might change moving forward is definitely screw down the aluminum T-track. It pulled up in the 3rd or 4th board, but that's easy enough to do. I'll probably also throw on a coat of paste wax along the bottom of the jig just to make it slide a little bit easier. And I might swap out the hold downs for something a little more quick connecty, since it is a little bit slow to screw in and unscrew, and then a little bit slow. But that is also fairly low on the priority list, since that's also a little bit more expensive. Slow method works for now. But for now, this project is done, and I'm good to get started on milling up these boards. This video is also my submission for Fixit Fingers Aussie Winter 2021 Maker Challenge. #WoodJigs21. I am submitting fairly late in the process, but I believe you have up until August 29th, 2021 to be included for the prize draws. I will leave it up to you to do the time zone math yourselves, since I'm not sure what it'll work out for you. I'm barely sure what it works out for me. I will link to Fixit Fingers video up here for more of the details, as well as the playlist. I think there's a playlist. There might be a playlist link up here as well for the other WoodJigs21 videos, so check it out. And with that, I'm going to call it a video. Thank you all for watching, and if you like what I'm doing here, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more. If you have any questions or comments, I look forward to reading them in the comment section below. And if you want to see more up-to-date projects, you can always follow me on Instagram at JohnTheShriner. I am usually doing daily updates over there, so you can always message me there. Otherwise, I will see you here in the next video, and have a good one.